Welcome to my garden studio. Today we're doing a fruit bowl, in slightly abstracted form. Okay, I'm using a canvas board and charcoal sticks. I love these charcoal sticks. They come in medium and soft and hard. So I'll be using the soft because I want the paint to actually draw into the charcoal pencil. And we're using acrylic paint pretty heavily, not so thin down, and I'm trying to do it with just the primary colors. So I want to show you this using your finger to draw a border around your canvas board. So I'm using this little finger, and I'll turn the canvas over to get the next edge. So I'm right-handed, and then you see I'm holding the board using the little finger to do that. Okay, so that's a neat little trick to get yourself a border around your canvas. So what I'm going to do after this is create random shapes as if the fruit was sitting in a bowl or a plate or a dish, and I'm just going to put a little corner in here, give it a bit of perspective, dimension, and going to create these random circular shapes which will read as fruit, but not particularly any kind of fruit. Just we've got shadows happening on the one side. Don't forget what I'm doing here is I'm just going through the whole, I'm drawing through the fruit as if it was see-through, giving an idea that it's a circle, putting the shadow on the left hand side. I'm getting a bit of a light and dark happening here. Now I'm going to draw an ellipse or curve to indicate my plate or my dish. Remember, it's abstracted, so it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be symmetrical, doesn't have to follow the rules, as opposed to a realistic painting. Here I'm just getting my my circular kind of spiral shapes in to fill up space, and yeah, we're soon going to start with warm colors. I'm dividing up the background, giving myself the third line, as I always try and fit it onto the third line, and we're almost ready to go. I think there's enough. Try and get as many lines in as possible because you're going to be putting paint over the top. I'm kind of rubbing the charcoal in, getting a gray area, and yeah, you got. I want some areas to be shadowed, quite heavily shadowed underneath the object, and then just smudging it in. Now we're ready to paint. So I've got warm colors, my oranges and reds coming forward, and I've got blue colors going back. So I want them to recede. So the blue colors must actually go to the back, green and blue go back, and red and orange come forward. So yeah, let's get started and have fun. I'm going to put the blue in first. Bring in my palette. What I would suggest strongly is try to keep the warm colors separate from the cool colors, and what that'll do is it means you won't be making muddy colors in the middle. Try and keep the colors away from each other on the palette. I like to use this particular kind of palette, and as you see, we've got red and we've got yellow and we've got blue. So yeah, starting to look good. And I'm going to dip into the white with a new brush, so you can just go straight into the tub of white, and might need a fair amount of white. The white tub is always bigger, more paint, and your colored tubs are, or your colored tubes are smaller. So in the next video, you're going to see we're going to pastelize this very same painting. So that's just two separate videos. Starting with what I know. And the blue is what I know. I really want this background to be blue. And I'm leaving the paint on. Quite a heavy amount of paint on. And you can see I'm not going to the absolutely sharp border. I'm going over the lines, I'm coming into the lines, just have fun with it. See, there's a little peach piece there that just went over the line, doesn't really matter, because we're going to paint the border. That white border is going to be painted at different, well, it will probably come back to white. I'll do it white as well. So, pastelizing is the term that makes the painting generally white. And be sure to watch that video because it turns this painting into something quite special. This is really a hot color. I'm using crimson and going right over my charcoal. And what happens there is the charcoal is going to draw into the paint. And I can actually use it as a shadowed area, you know. So yeah, I'm going to slightly change the color now for the second piece of fruit. And this could be an apple, it could be a peach, it could be any circular fruit. It just reads as fruit. It doesn't have to be a particular kind of fruit. There I've got this charcoal stick is drawing into the paint, which is really what I want. You can actually make your lines heavier than I've made mine. Be careful of adding white to red because you're going to end up with pink. And unless you want pink, then it's a good idea to add yellow to your red. And I'm mixing it right on the board. I'm hardly mixing it in the palette. There I'm turning my brush over. And yeah, I'm not a fan of pink. There are places where you do want pink and then you've got white and red mixed together. But at this point I'm going to just create 3 different tones of warm color. Dark, generally dark goes back and light comes forward. So I'm twisting my brush. Here I'm getting a red and a blue to make a nice deep color, always at the bottom of the painting. Well, generally at the bottom of the painting, your shadows generally want to have the weight of the shadow at the bottom of things, underneath the object. So we've got a maroon, kind of maroon purple. Some of the paint is unmixed. I'm mixing it in as I go. And yeah, so far so good, looking okay. This is really easy to do at home, and you can make your own shapes. Use my drawing shapes as an example if you want to, but really just have random kind of shapes that you can come up with. Let the drawing speak to you. Let the drawing speak to you. Where does another line need to go? Then put it in. Where does another line need to go? Well, then put it in. If you make a mistake, it's easy enough to just paint straight over the top of the painting. Straight over the top of the lines. They cover the lines. Okay. And you can see I'm leaving a very heavy texture in the white that I'm painting. I don't want to flatten out the paint too much. I want that texture to come through. And there's quite a cute little broken brush area where I've gone over the top of the color, the underneath color. There, right, there's a shadow. Now I want to have the charcoal pulling into the paint, and it kind of goes grey, like a grey color, not just a flat white. Not just a flat white. Getting a lot of dry brush happening. I want to kill this texture, I like it. Now that's a little bit interesting, painting white over the top of the red. And the red is dry. We've actually got a very warm day, so the acrylic is drying quite quickly. Now I'm trying to just tuck in the shadowy color underneath, going into my spiral shapes, and I want to put a shadow underneath that plate. Or that. Yeah, so that's going quite nicely. Don't be afraid to waste paint in your palette. If you put a lot of paint out and you feel you don't want to use it, then don't use it. Don't feel you have to use it. I'm just switching colors around so that I've got light and dark next to each other, and I've got color next to each other. So one panel is a color, the next panel is another color. One panel is cool, the next panel is warm. One color is dark and the other color is going to be lighter. So you try and alternate those tones and those colors as you go. And you must remember this is a 12-minute video, 12-minute painting. Hardly anything's been cut out or edited. It's just going from beginning to end. Quite a quick little sketch, I would say. More like a sketch than a painting, but using paint. So now I'm crossing the yellow and the blue to make a little bit of green, which is a cold color, coming forward towards you, advancing towards you, which is kind of breaking the rules, because cool colors normally go back, and but I do need a little bit of green in there to indicate a bit of that foliage. Here I'm darting across the painting with the colors that I can see, just making up my mind as I go along. It's really fun. It's a project that is a sketch when you may be tired of painting super realistically and you just want to have fun. Here I'm putting more charcoal in, and we'll see how that works for us at the end, and putting a darker edge on that piece of fruit in the front, and trying to separate the tone from this piece of fruit, which has gone very light. So I might just put a bit of red in that. Remember the light coming from one direction and the highlights bouncing off the top of your fruit, giving you a chance to get it three-dimensional, as if it were round. Trying to put the shadow in the same area for each object that you have in your palette, in your painting. So what I'm doing now is picking up some purple and just getting a shadow underneath that piece of fruit, and this one here, put another shadow underneath there, and I'm starting to like the painting. I'm actually starting to enjoy it. It's really fun, quick, easy to do. Now I just want to show you some of the detail coming in close, and you see the detail of the texture. You see the detail of the canvas board hasn't been clogged in, hasn't been blocked in, but it's got those ridges that create the texture. That's looking pretty cool. See you in the next video.